And a very warm welcome to the 61st running of the Dauphiné Liberé, the perfect build-up, many think, to the Tour de France itself. Riders seem to agree, and we're looking at Sebastian Rosler today as we get the 12.1 kilometer time trial. Kind of a gentle introduction, if you like, underway. And Rosler leading the timing sheets, as you can see, is 16:09 at the moment, 0:2 if you're getting into the hundredths. Beating Guitarist's time by a solid 3 seconds, as you can see, and doing a good job in the meantime. Evgeny Petrov running in third place just for now. So seconds gained here as Vladimir Efemkin comes across the line as we speak. But look at that, a 28.23 second deficit. And that underlines what I'm just about to say. Seconds gained here could well count when this notoriously mountainous event gets serious in the middle of the week. We've got David Moncoutier about to get underway. The Cofidis rider just pedaling off the start ramp. Yes, 8 days of racing starting right here, and as you can see, conditions, thankfully, rather pleasant. About the last thing you need through the streets of Nancy, especially on some of the sort of cobbly sections, of which there are a number, I have to say, in this ancient town, city, I should say, with its cathedral. It can get just a little bit skiddy and slippy out there. Manuel Gatti also on course as we speak, and as you can see, the helicam just picking them out as we go into some of the local districts of which we are dancing in and out here. Only 12.1 kilometers today, but David, does feel a real test nonetheless, and if you don't get it right here, then you've basically stymied the rest of your week.
Well, interesting thing is that it's long for a prologue. Normally prologues in last year, I think when Leipzig won, it was only 6 kilometers as such. Now we've got one here at 12 kilometers, and on that we've got a climb, which is a 4 kilometer climb, a 4 category climb, which will, I think, test the guys. So it's very interesting course we've got. Lovely old city that we're in right now. And look at Rosler, by the way. He's a bit of a new kid on the block who's just doing well at the moment, because he's done virtually nothing. The first, 4 years, he got no successes at all. So suddenly now he's popped up there. But as always in a time trial like this, the organisers put the best guys at the back. And my goodness, what a lot of best guys we've got in this race. I look down this, honestly, Carlton, there's some cracking riders yet to come. They either ride this race or they go and ride the Tour of Switzerland. I think we've got more of the best guys here as a prologue for the Tour de France opening up, and I think we're going to have some very, very interesting days racing ahead of us. I hope they will stay with us.
I'm sure they will, David. Some amazing names we've got here, of course. Cadel Evans, Mr. Bridesmaid for the time being as far as the Tour de France is concerned, but and it's been a bit like that here as well, you've got to say. Alejandro Valverde is here, Pereiro, Alberto Contador, let us not forget as well, a man with 3 Grand Tours behind his name. Some other huge names as well to conjure with, don't forget, likes of Tom Boonen, Ivan Basso as well. Some real star turns, and this makes this event more than worthwhile. It is a huge prep for the Tour de France itself. It's got just about everything going for it. Flattish in the opening couple of days, just to get the legs in. Then we hit the mountains, and some big mountains as well, David.
Well, as I just said here, the first climb here, we get the early part of the race. It's just in a time trial. Normally it's fairly flat, and they're even catching. Look, 1 minute here, catching ride. That climb we've just seen is, I think, causing a few problems. We'll come back with Tom Boonen. I'd like to talk about it later on, but I think we're going for a break at the moment. As the situation at the moment, we've got some way to go yet, haven't we? Oh, there we're Rosler still in the lead, 16:09. So that's the situation as we're going to a break. More of the top guys coming up, Carlton. It looks going to be great.
It is going to be sensational. So Stephen Kutzer just gets himself underway. We'll take that break, and we'll be back with the big names. They don't get much bigger than there are in the start list here. Back in a few moments' time. Stay with us. Welcome back. Fine conditions, you'll be pleased to know, in this, the time trial day, as we start ourselves off. One of 2 time trials, in fact. Was Stefan Sirix from Silence Lotto just came across the line, but for the time being, our man out front remains Sebastian Rosler, the Belgian, with a 16:09.02. A lot of riders are finishing an awful lot way down the order at the moment. We're losing quite a few seconds out there, and we're looking at sort of half-minute deficit deficits for a lot. Stéphane Clément just prepares to get himself underway, the Rabobank rider. Clément, of course, second in the world time trial, knows how to race this, and so really one of the favourites today, despite starting a little bit further down the order than he might have expected. Watch out for this man. The Dutchman really can get himself into a solid rhythm, and off the ramp he comes, and a brief check behind for Noval. Look at that. He has 51 seconds basically out of hand right at the very beginning of the Dauphiné, and that is not what you want at all. Next man up is going to be Jurgen van der Broek as well from Sailants Lotto. Van der Broek, also a decent time trialer as well. He's normally the support man for Cadel Evans, so this should be crucial as well, because he's got to get his legs in today. His job will be as backup man for Cadel Evans. He kind of rides shotgun for him, looks after him, particularly in the mountains. Not especially a time trialer, but doesn't want to lose too much time. Mind you, he is here, David, as backup well and truly for Evans, who would love to take that extra step.
Yeah, that's a big thing. If some of these guys are going through time trial now, if it's a short distance, 6Ks, they'll blast around there, but they're thinking, okay, with that climb up there, let's keep our powder dry. We've got 2 or 3 sprint days coming up as well, when the sprint will have their a chance of doing something. Then they have to come into power later on behind that. So some of these guys are just riding around, just get the legs into form, and just going through the motions almost, because they've got a job to do. The one thing about it, I must say, it's practicing for the Tour de France. I'm being disrespectful for the Dauphiné, because over the years we've had some tremendous winners, including, of course, my good friend Brian Robinson many years ago, who won this race many years gone by. So it's horses for courses. Excuse me, so I don't like puns, but that's what it is. Some of these guys are out there, they've got to defend later on the position of some of their top guys who want to win this race, but also as far as they can, 1 or 2 of the time trial specialists will blast around this one, because they want to have their name on the list of the winners of this event in terms of the time trial that started. And you never know with these guys here, either from the Columbia High Road, they can always pop up. And the interesting thing, looking down the routes we've got here, what I call English speaking, this race has grown and grown, and I don't be respectful to the French, by the way, which is very much a French race over the years. It's been infiltrated, inverted commas, by the foreigners.
Well, here's one of them. Craig Lewis, of course, the American for Columbia High Road, the sole American, incidentally, represented within the team here. Yes, and if you're wondering what's happened to Cav, well, he's not here. Adam Hansen is normally his lead-out man, and he is. So Adam Hansen will be prepping himself for the Tour de France, and we'll keep an eye on him for you as well. Budrogi coming in now, number 142. He's, I think, a time trial champion of Hungary, and has been for many, many years. So he's half decent, as you can see, but
too short.
Yeah, exactly. Just
we got what,
34.6 seconds. You know, it's cruel almost, this, David, that it does include a climb. It's a proper stage, despite the fact it's only 12.1 kilometers. It's not as kind as it might have been right at the beginning. It's kind of blowing the field apart here.
Well, it will do earlier on. I was saying earlier on, some of these guys are going to ride later on. We're going to find what I call the real time trial. For instance, we've got Bert Grapsch, who's off last but 2, the world time trial champion. He won the world time trial of 52 kilometers. This is 12 kilometers short for him. The later time trial we have is 42 kilometers. So what we're going to see is different riders doing different things, targeting different things. I'm surprised I actually put Bert Grapsch as far back as that on the start list, but of course the organisers do things because they want the public to watch it. They don't want to be here since the race started first of all, going to minute intervals. And here you see 1 or 2 riders being caught by other riders, so it's just falling into place. People are coming here to watch the race, and they want to see some of the top stars. And the last, 10, 15 riders, we're going to see those top stars, some who can win overall, and some like Bert Grapsch, when we get to the next big time trial, can do something spectacular.
Well, Craig Lewis heading for the line as we speak, and he's in the 17-minute mark, and it's not been a brilliant start for the American here. As you can see, down in 87th position he is, and almost a minute down right from the very off. I have to say, I do feel sorry for them. It is a real test, particularly right at the beginning. That's where the climb sets in. And then you've got 7.5 kilometers to play with Jérôme Pinault. Goes 6th here, and that's not bad effort by Pinault, you've got to say.
No, that reason is, you see, Carlton, that the French, when they come here, despite what they're going to do, good, bad or indifferent, they want to show on their home territory, because this event is very much a French event, right the way until, what, from 1947 to 1982, it was dominated by French riders, and bit by bit it's been taken over by other riders on this event, which has been sponsored by the Dauphiné Liberé, which is a very famous French newspaper, which has actually been bought over by another company now. So the French want to do well on their home patch.
Here's a man who'd like to do well as well, Gert Steegmans. He's a Belgian. He won up the Champs-Élysées last year, got himself a huge paycheck to sign up with Katusha, and has been very quiet ever since. Formerly with Quick Step Boys, we just saw Jérôme Pinault finishing the Frenchman. You'll probably see an awful lot more of Pinault, to be honest. He is a sprinter over the next couple of days. Time trialing, not really a specialism, but he is 6th quickest so far. Gert Steegmans, well, I don't really know why he's sort of sat back on his laurels. We will see a little bit more of him in just a wee while, you can be sure. At the moment, we're just sticking with our friend from Liquigas at the moment, David. It's
Nibali.
Nibali, Vincenzo, of course.
People listening regularly to Eurosport, when I'm on air, will probably get fed up with me continuing to push this guy. At some point, if he really gets his act together, I see that fellow really begin to cause a few problems.
Well, you know, he can climb like the veritable mountain goat, the Italian, and maybe this is an event which might just like the blue touch paper for him.
We shall see. There again, you see, some people ride this event. If they're not going to ride the Tour de France full bore, then they'll come here to do something. But we don't know where his position is going to be when they get into the Tour de France as to what their position is. And also when they come out of things like the Tour of Italy, various riders, are they stuffed? Have they got left in their legs? For instance, with Ivan Basso, who comes off at 147. What's he got left in his legs? Fascinating.
Well, there is Nibali, and we have just seen, of course, Rabon go off. František Rabon from the Czech Republic won the prologue in the Tour of Romandy, of course. He is a time trial specialist, and the quiet money, and in fact the odd 50p from me, is actually going on Rabon to do something special here, because I think he'd like to shine early in Colombia, but maybe like to get a little bunny punch in, because when it comes to lumpy stuff, I don't really think that they're going to be that much of a feature. Maybe Adam Hansen, the Australian, the lead-out man for Cavendish, might feature a little bit later on. We'll see. Here's Tom Boonen, your big mate here.
He is. He's going through hell and high water.
He is at the moment.
Absolutely, and no doubt about it. So when you talk about the mountain and things yet to come, we've got a few days when he could probably show and do a bit, and I hope he comes out the other side. I hope he gets his family things and his personal position sorted out, by the way, because at one time he was banned by his team and what have you. I won't get into intricacies of all that little lot and the legal side of it and what have you, but I hope the guy gets his act together. I think, in my personal opinion, I don't know the fact, I think he's been led astray, like so many sports people in this day and age. They get led astray. It didn't used to happen in the old days, particularly the rugby. I'm a great friend of rugby players. In the old days, you used to go down the bar and knock back so many pints of beer. It's unbelievable. Now they're up to something no good as well, just for fun or what have you. I don't want to go into that, Carlton, but I hope that Tom gets his act together.
So do I.
To me, he's a great sprinter, and we need him in the racing.
Pereira just about to get himself off the ramp and underway. 2000 Tour de France man, of course. Watch out for him. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, we're looking back at this early ride here, because it looks like things are beginning to change here, Carlton, at the moment. And certainly we're waiting for somebody to topple the guy who's been up there doing the best we can. So there's one thing about the early time trials. We're going back here with Tom Boonen, who I think is now David Moncuti. Here's another man who's been there or thereabouts over all these years gone by. And the French are really right behind him. He wins 2 races here, 2 races there this season, 2 races here, to what have you. But I don't know, somehow he's never fired on full cylinders. I don't know why the French, I do know the French, I think they get too much money for doing too little, and my French friends will give me a
I imagine they probably will. Mind you, I thought you were going to say that about poor old Gert Steegmans, who we've already had a go at for being very quiet this year after leaving Quick Step. Federico is just setting off. Oscar Pereiro, of course, as well, already on course. So is Cameron Verf, I believe. And, third quickest, and only 3 seconds down for Vagrenard. That is an amazing effort by him.
La France.
Well, there you are. Benoit giving it plenty. Third so far, and almost just getting into roasters time. That was very, very good. 3 seconds difference only over the 12 kilometers. Here is Rabon plying his trade as beautifully as he usually does. Time trial specialist, don't forget, and that tour of the prologue in the Tour of Romandy, underscoring his credentials in this sort of event, the Czech. He's also got another time trial in the form of Bert Grapsch, don't forget, within Columbia Team High Road as well. He'll go third from the end, will Bert. Clearly a lot expected of him as Fabian Wegmann is about to descend the ramp and does so with some integrity. He's a bit of a climber as well. He's won in the mountains in the Giro, of course, and national road racing champion of Germany he is too. So he's pretty handy, David.
Always thereabouts. Amazing guy. Some people keep performing, but in the end don't ever climb the next level. I don't know what it is. He's always been somehow, you admire what he's done. He's done quite good rides over the years gone by. It's always the same thing in many sports. It's like a pyramid, isn't it? The guys at the top are winning all the time. Further on down, they try to get there, and for some reason they don't quite make it.
Well, a beautiful part of the world, as you can see. Some wonderful squares, and it seems undamaged by various conflicts which have gone very much against the French in this part of the world. Have had world wars done and dusted in this part of France, of course. Western France is, or Eastern France, I beg your pardon, the Eastern Front and what have you. Very, very, a lot of turmoil. Lots going on here as well, with Rosler still top dog, you've got to say, and that benchmark time, a pretty handy one as well, a 16:09.02, as I believe part of this city is actually Romanesque as well. They kind of got around, didn't they, the old Romans?
They did. The other thing, going back to the situation with Rosler, by the way, it's quite normal with teams. If you've got a useful time trialist, you've got to know the second level. You put him earlier on because you have to put your team together on the day before the selection of this. And if you're looking at the weather, and across Europe at the moment we've had good days, bad days, what have you, you often put a guy out early on the basis that if the weather's going to turn nasty, you've got somebody who's quite a useful time trials can post a useful time early on, and by the time you get to the big hitters later on, they're going to be racing amongst themselves for the overall success, not the time trial itself. So it's quite interesting the way these things are run, and people don't often realise that. The team owners sit there, this, that and the other, what's the weather going to be like, this is the sort of course, he's good at that, and then they put forward the list towards the organisers to put them in that order. That's why normally most of the riders riding with one behind them, which is the team leader, are towards the back end, but we did have like Lars Bach 151, Gonzalez 171, there's a number of 1, 2, 3, 5 riders early on that were won on the early part.
What's interesting, David, just picking up on that point, we've got Jérôme Coppel going off here, the Frenchman. He shares a team with Sébastien Chavanel, Rémi de Gregorio as well, Gueslin, Le Mavel, and we've seen Vaugrenard going very well. Why is Jérôme Coppel wearing #1 within that team? I mean, I'm sure he's a very, very good rider, but yeah, he's got some huge talent. Well, wait
till we get up the big Mont Ventoux.
Here we go then. Bandiera coming across the line. Somebody else will be hoping and waiting for a little bit of lumpy stuff to come. The Lamprey team not fielding such a strong outfit, you've got to say. In the same deal with Columbia High Road, really, albeit that Adam Hansen and the like. Cyril Dessel, you start looking through the AG2R team. Dupont, Femkin, Nocciatini, Nico Roche as well. They've got some real talent coming along here. Seems that some teams are taking this as an event they're determined to win.
Well, of course, the trouble with the Lamprey lads, the top guys have just come out of the Tour of Italy, and all right, they may put 1 or 2 into here, but generally speaking, the top guys rode the Tour of Italy to win that race, or support riders who could win that race, and so you've got a different mixture of riders coming through.
Igor Anton just crossing the line there, won a stage of the Vuelta back in 2006, did our Igor, probably coming to the sort of main body of his career, one would have thought, as we go on.
Interesting look, by the way. A lot of people have never seen a time trial bike with all this gear down, and David Miller about to go. In his day, one of the most superb time trials. I won't say he's getting past his sell-by day, because he probably always mother will have a go at me, but David can do very well on the day. He rode the Tour of Italy, depends what he's got left in his legs. If he rode, as I think he did do, mainly for the team, if he's got anything left, he could come into this race with form, so he might do a decent time. I'm going to watch his time, see how he does.
Well, Clermont coming across the line in 5th place, and only just over 6 seconds down. Not a bad effort by Clermont, you've got to say. Setting his stall out as well. Second in the World Time Trials, the Dutchman. We knew he was going to go strongly here, but there's some big names still to come here, and I suspect he may well not have done as much as he'd hoped there.
No, the big thing about the fellow who's just finished, the Dutch guy, he was tall in the saddle. If he carried across the line, we didn't have much time to see him, but he must be about 6'2" in English money, I'd have thought. I could see these long legs in there, and therefore he's much more a time trial, long, lanky lad. When he comes to the climbs, he has difficulty when he comes up the climb, because he's a bit, I won't say overweight, he's got more weight to carry up. Most of the climbers are pretty small, pretty short, and they can fire up the climbs, and so he was a typical time trialist, a long-legged chap, and I think with David Miller, he's an in-between. Look at the amount of seat pins sitting out there, that he's quite a reasonable time trialist, and quite a long-legged lad as well.
There are some big fellas here. Marcus Seberg is probably the biggest of them all. Let's see how Van der Broek comes across 14th, but almost 15 seconds down. We saw Simon Spilak, the Slovenian, just heading off as well, and we're at the back with David Millar right now, or at the back end of David Millar, I should say. Won the Edinburgh Nocturne, did our David. He's been a bit quiet, a bit too quiet for our liking, and I'm sure for his liking as well, but still team leader here for Garmin Slipstream. He's got Danny Martin along with him, and Trent Lowe as well, a couple of decent climbers. Daniel Martin, of course, second in the Tour of Catalonia, and a young star in the form of Trent Lowe as well, riding with him. So it is time trial day, or one of the two, I should say, and the individual time trial, 12.1 kilometers of it in Nancy, this beautiful city in the east of France. You're just looking down at Jérôme Coppel of Francis Desjeux, who's busy out there. He has to be as well. Nasty little climb right at the beginning. They will award the climber's jersey today, because there's a bit of a hillock for around about 3 kilometers, average gradient around 4.7%. That really eats into you. It's a bit of a sapper right at the beginning, so don't count the climbers out here. And then you've got a 7.5 kilometer run to the finish, course mostly flat from that point onwards, but a real stinger right at the beginning here.
It is, and you know, I'm fascinated. You know, sometimes you can watch a rider, Carlton, and they're just going round the action. We've seen some, and I've got the impression he's nearly there or thereabouts. Is he going to really go high ball? He's therefore got to make sure that he goes to that first climb without completely blowing it. If he goes over the top of that and really steams off the top, do bear in mind, I remember when he got the prologue time trial in the Tour de France as well, some years ago, Futurescope in the year 2000. He hammered, and that was about the same distance, about 12-14 kilometers. It could suit him today. It depends if he's coming in. That's why the cameras are focusing, by the way, that they what the French do, and any camera crew do, they go along and say, who has a chance of doing something today? Let's stay with him. And somehow now they're saying, let's go with this guy. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed from it. I think he deserves to have a jolly good ride today. Let's see.
Ouch. Nicky Sorensen, 50th place, and the rest. And look at his time. It's appalling as far as he's concerned. The Dane would have been hoping for more than that. 43 seconds adrift. And Nicky Sorensen, a bit of a sorry state out there. He's got the likes of Carsten Kroon, the Dutchman, Alexander Kolobnev alongside him as well. And here comes Nibali, and look at his time. He's going to be top dog, as he knows. He's just going to get pipped. Oh, by 0.46 of a second. That could not be closer. Well, we knew Nibali would push hard, but he almost got the benchmark time. Second place as it is by less than half a second. Wow.
Nippo down the book and put him down as a likely winner of this race overall.
There you have it. There you have it.
We've got a week to go.
He's got his 50p's rattling in his pocket for all the bets that he's going to be giving you tips on, and that's one of them. Vincenzo Nibali, he's a pretty handy climber, and the crucial thing, David, is that he stayed within the frame here. He may not be a time trial specialist, but Vincenzo Nibali has set his stall out big time here with that effort. He is a climber, don't forget, and he will come into his own in the back part of this event, and it is 8 days of tremendous cycling, a mini Tour de France, as we've already told you. And you want some big names? Well, they don't come much bigger than Alberto Contador, the Spaniard, off the ramp. 3 Grand Tours to his name. Status, you want status? There's few bigger than he, and he is out there. Here's Cadel Evans as well, also out and motoring. Normally does, we used to talk him up a lot in time trials, but he kind of lost that status, I think. Probably broken by the likes of Mr. Schumacher in last year's Tour when it came to time trialing, and unfortunately that kind of blew a hole in his confidence a little bit.
But also, I think he hasn't been racing for what, 4 or 5 weeks now, and you lose it. It's different between actually go out and training, and particularly when it comes to time trialing, than actually just going out and riding and competitiveness. So he's going to just ride around here. I don't think we're going to see him busting a gut at the moment. I think he'll spend the next 2 or 3 days getting himself into race fitness, and then
I think you're right.
We'll see him coming good when we get to Ventoux and places like that.
Absolutely. So Rabon heading for the quickest time so far. Well, we told you he's going to be good, and that's exactly what he is providing us with here. Rabon hitting it hard and hitting it right now at the right time. Is he going to get top spot? Oh, he's going to get pipped here. Oh, 3rd place. 3 men within 0.85 of a second, and Rabon in 3rd place for now.
That's close, isn't it? It's getting interesting.
Very, very close. Well, we told you it was going to be a bit of a tall order to actually pick everybody out of this one. Here is Cadel Evans wearing number 11 right now. Do you know what, David? He looks like he's carrying just a little bit of winter weight on him.
Legs 11. I said the difference between training and racing is quite enough. And, you know, you don't get that sharpness. And I think you just ride around here, stay within, 30 seconds of the top guy, because in the mountain, particularly Ventoux, you can take minutes out of people.
Well, the lucky thing for Cadel, of course, is he's got Jurgen van der Broek, his support rider within the team here, so they'll be doing a plenty of practices. Ivan Basso it is that's about to get us underway, team leader of the Liquigas crew, and a couple of years out, 5th in the Giro, though, proving that probably he's back to amongst his best. Sylvester Schmidt, who is a good all-rounder, good climber as well, could well get back at him. Let's just do some homework here. Rosler, Nibali and Rabon all separated by less than 0.85. Christian Nies as well is still within that 1 second bracket, but the big guns are out. Are they firing though? Tom Boonen isn't, down in the 30s. It's going to be in the 40s by the time he crosses the line in terms of the ranking. You can see it clicking away just next to the clock there, and sure enough, mid-40s. No, not in the 50s, surely. It's going to be, I think, as the line approaches, and it is. And Tom Boonen finds himself 38.9 seconds down after day 1 of the Dauphiné Liberé.
Yeah, but there again, he's the sprinter. And what sprint? Look at the size of him compared to the other guy. He needs a lead-out guy, and you don't get a lead-out guy in the time trial, whatever you do.
Well, Marco Velo is the man who does it for him normally, but he's unable to help him here now, Dave.
Botcherov, now this is a guy that could do something. He's been there or thereabouts for a long time now, and I don't know where he's going to, and perhaps we might find out in the next few days.
Well, we will. He's team leader for Katusha, and they're not short of a few, Bob, I have to say, Katusha. They make rocket launch systems as well as everything else. Katusha rocket launchers, you've seen them in the desert, giving firework displays to those standing behind them, and meting out something rather more unpleasant for those standing in front of them. Oscar Pereiro, 30th at the moment. It's going to be another 50s performance, I'm afraid, for the number 6, David.
Yes, going back to the Katusha team, they had all this money to throw about. I seem to have got nowhere with it, and you can't suddenly build a team overnight with lots of money. I think it's going to take them 2 to 3 years, provided, of course, the sponsor prepared to stay on board and put the money in the team.
That has to be the hope, doesn't it? Here we go then, Bert Grapscht, and he wears the rainbow jersey for a very good reason. He's the world time trial champion, and this is his day, or it should be. Or maybe it'll come in a couple of days. We will see.
Too short. He won his time trial champion on over 52 Ks. All his best performances have been over the longer distances.
Yep,
we've got, I think it's 45 Ks when we get to the time trial. Yes, on stage 4, 43 Ks into
that'll suit him more.
That'll suit him more.
Yeah.
He'll get a few miles under his legs and come back and give it some real stick then.
Sticking with Contador. And you do well to stick with him during racing proper. Here is Contador now, just stretching his legs. He is a time trialer, don't forget, won the opening time trial of the Paris-Nice as well. So he goes on to do great things if he opens his account very well. We will see. I suspect that Mr. Contador will be a top fiver at the very least. And here we go at this 3-kilometre chrono time. Cadel Evans is bossing it at the moment. Little rip of applause for Cadel. Well, he's on course and looking good. Far be it from us for talking down as a time trialer.
Good on you, sport.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Yeah, I remember coming across Cadel Evans years and years and years ago when he was a mountain biker. And
oh, yes.
Bless him, he really did turn a good cog up in the hills and has become a very, very good all-rounder. Stein de Volder, the big Dutchman, about to get himself underway. He looks like a bruiser, and he is, David.
Yeah, world champion, national champion, but what, he was 6th in the world championship this year, back in last year, so he's quite a useful time trial, but again, I think it's too short for him. Have to wait until we get a bit further inland. Look at the size of him, a bit too much, and I'm going to think that Mr. Contador might do something here, and don't forget, we've got the last man to go then, Valverde. He has got something to do here to prove himself, because a lot of people are pointing fingers at him. Let's see what he's going to do.
Come on then, you're wearing the number 1. Let's have a performance that worthy of that number. I'm sure he will give it to us. He's on form at the moment. Tour of Catalonia speaks volumes. So Alberto Contador riding alongside him at the moment. Valverde is away and on the street as we have spoken, and through what looks like a Romanesque building site at the moment. I'm sure there's a few bits of broken pot you might want to take home. You know what, they usually show you the best of the city. I think we've just seen some excavation works going on. Let's focus back on just how fluid Contador looks. Looks very, very comfortable out there, you've got to say, David, as Federico just comes along for a finish, and it's going to be once again in the 50s. 54 it is, and 35 seconds is the deficit that he'll carry into tomorrow's stage proper, which we hope to have your company for. 228 kilometres, incidentally, from Nancy to Dijon. It's going to be mustard.
Yes, of course, we lovely look at
the gag there.
Yes, I heard that. I'm just kind of thinking that as it's very much a French race, which goes back to 1947, the last French rider to win it was Christophe Moreau, who concentrated on this race and then went to ride the Tour de France and got absolutely shelled out all over the place. Don't be disrespectful to him. Cadel Evans was 2nd last year, 2nd year before that, and he's doing quite a useful time at that moment. Look where he is right now. He's ahead of Contador, and just we saw some lovely, lovely sights there. And this city dates back to the 17th century when Charles III encouraged the layout. So we get some lovely shots this part of the world. Nice part to be. But are the French going to do something? I said it's a long time since they did well in this particular race, and at the moment they still haven't got anybody up there in the top half dozen.
There's Wegman, the one in the mountains in the Giro, national road champion of Germany, but clearly time trialing just testing him a little bit too much at this part of the season. It is a great way to get your legs in for the Tour de France, David. I just wonder, though, whether it could also break your heart here.
I think it's, as far as some riders are concerned, that they're just also sussing out the opposition, because the riders run alongside each other. When you're in a bunch like that, you're looking at something and you try on a climb, and you can see the guys. All right, it's a bit early days for the Tour de France, but you begin to get the feel for people. And I'm fascinated to think that Basso is here full flight, because he's been out of competition for a while now to come back and ride the Tour, then come ride this, and then look towards the Tour de France. What's he going to do? Again, another Frenchman. Oh.
And not doing a bad job, you've got to say, Remy Puriol. 29th, he's 23 seconds down, but you know what, the Cofidis rider gave that plenty there. He's down as team leader. I suspect it might well be because he is a Frenchman, because David Moncoutier, Amiel Moinard is here, as well as Bingen Fernandez, the Spaniard, but that he rode that like a team principal, you've got to say, and didn't do too badly at all. Now then, time to get serious for some of these boys, and it's Jerome Coppel, and look at this. Now then, he's hitting it hard here, and you can see his purpose as he drives for the line, and he may well just be our new leader here. Jerome Coppel, oh, he's going to get edged out here ever so slightly. He's going to be in the top 10 maybe. Come on, Jerome, hit it hard now or never. 7th place, 6 seconds only though, 5.63 to be precise. That was a good ride by Jerome Coppel.
C'est la vie.
Exactly, and he'll be heading to that right now, I imagine, after his efforts.
Jolly good ride there, but La France because that's you can go and put money. It's like their lottery out there, you see.
Yes.
So
Ivan Basso on course, 5th in the Giro. Those 2 years out, David, you were saying that training's one thing, racing's another.
Yes.
I just wonder whether he's going to get found out here.
Well, it's to come out of the 3 weeks racing like he's been doing, to ride a time trial over this sort of distance here. He's been out there riding his bike and his legs keep going round and round and round. But in reality, he will ride quite a reasonable time, I think, today. Do the best he can, because he's not going to be interested in doing well in the time trial, I don't think, providing he stays within 10, 20 seconds of the other top guys. When we get to the climbs, he's going to take into, like for instance, with Cadel Evans, who hasn't really raced for what, 4, 5, 6 weeks. When he goes into the Ventoux climb, if he's recovered, if he's got in his legs, if he's got that form, he can blast on that climb up Ventoux, which is quite tremendous. So hang in there, make a note in your diaries. It's going to be on stage 5, June the 11th. That's the day.
Cyril Dessel, head up for a decent time here, surely. We will see. And there it is. No is the answer. Pretty miserable too. He's going to be way down here, David, and this is not going to suit him at all. Cyril Dessel, who possibly started as one of those who thought he could do something here, and he's going to be in the hundreds. My life, look at this. And wow, he finishes 50 seconds down, 96th on the ranking at the moment, but there's quicker guys out there than him, and he will finish in the hundreds by the end. David Millar hitting it hard. Oh, well done, David. Good job. 7th place at 3.45 seconds. Hey, he's back.
That bodes well for this race. I think he's going to ride hard in this race, as hard as he can do. The last British winner of this race was Robert Miller in 1990, and before that, Brian Robinson in 1961. I don't think he's going to win this race, but he could be up there. He was 3rd in 2003, was David Miller. Chris Boardman was there in 2nd place in 1995. Robert Miller 2nd in 1995 and 2nd in 1983. The dear viewers out there, by the way, in other parts of the world from Great Britain, do bear with us if we talk about the British ride, because I know people listen all over the world to our English commentary from time to time, but we do have to, as we're wearing our Union Jack underpants, get a bit biased occasionally.
Well, we just have to.
Yes.
It's our job, frankly.
Yes.
So here we are, Dauphiné Liberé. You are here for the opening stage of what is going to be one hell of an event. It always is, and our old friend Matt Randall loves this event. It's to him, it's one of the little I think he actually gets his own mind together for the Tour de France, which he's always hugely involved in. Simon Spilak on road as we speak, and the Slovenian is going to be down in the 30s, I'm afraid, but crucially he's going to be well within around about 40. Oh, look at that, in the 30-second mark, 26.61. Yeah, Matt Randall loves this event. He, to him, it's one of the big talking points of the year, and he's absolutely right,
I do. Do you know, honestly, with all due respect to the Tour de France, which I'm great admirer, I love the Tour of Italy, which is a brilliant race because of the mixture between flat stages, mountain stadium, what have you. But the shorter stage races over 7 to 10 days, to me, bring out the best of all the riders and make it much more interesting as you go on. I think we're going to see probably, I don't think we're going to see the end of the Tour of Spain, but I'd like to see that cut back to Noble in about 2 weeks, not 3. I think that I don't think we get rid of the Tour of Italy and Tour of... I'm lecturing honestly again, but I get the feeling over the years there are more races coming on.
Mr. Astaloza's family, for one, is upset. 17, but under 18 seconds. That's all his deficit.
Yeah, but with all due respect, the Spanish had lots and lots of races. They had too many races, and too many races for the guy to take part in. And when they get racing round the end, you've got negative racing, and the people didn't turn out. The sponsors just backed off. You have to have good racing quite regularly. When people turn out to watch it, the press write about it, the television come out and cover it. Whoops, he's nearly lost the bike.
He has, and he's not looked comfortable. I've got to say, if you want a big back end, it's getting it's letting him down at the moment. Here we are. He's a huge powerhouse, Birch Grapps, and he's just not looking comfortable at all. And I'm actually wondering, I was just wondering, which is why I was tapping you away, whether he's actually got a mechanical issue there going on. It just looked like he'd actually dropped a cock or something. I'm not quite sure. Here's Cadel Evans, nonetheless, driving for the line. line. What's he got for it, Cadel? Oh, this is very, very good indeed. Now, this is a real return to form time trial-wise for Cadel Evans, and I just hope that he's managed to get this part of his significant armoury sorted out, because Cadel was always a great time trialist, super climber, wonderful all-rounder, general good guy as well. And look at that for bursting. Oh, amazing. Just 32.88. What a trim that is. That is amazing. And Cadel Evans has benchmarked us good and proper. And you know what? I think that might be the time of the day.
I've got this. Yes, I'll join you in that, by the way. If I'm wrong, I buy you a drink tonight.
Okay.
Well, honestly, that guy, if you've met him over the years, madam, I've met him too. Very quiet guy.
He is.
But beneath that, he's so positive on his bike. I thought being out, he hadn't quite got the sharp, but he's come back in now. Keep your fingers crossed, because Cadel there was, he's still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders to come after him.
Here comes Contador. Yep, he's heading for it as well. He's in P1 at the moment. There's Evans' time. Now, all of these names are going to do something special, but I suspect that Contador, who's also a time trial specialist, of course, if he doesn't beat Evans, then you can more or less guarantee that Evans is going to be at least on the provisional podium here. Look at this. Contador has not beaten Evans at all, and he's going to be, what, 4th here? Oh, second, holds on to it. 7.39 seconds. Of course, there was a huge cushion between Evans and everybody else. He got plenty of time to play with there to stay in second place. Contador in second place for now, but Evans well and truly in dominant form here, exactly what he needed. And to come back like that, David, and find that sort of form straight off a training run, that is impressive.
That's very comfortable from Contador, by the way. Likewise, I think he's done a jolly useful ride there, by the way. It's nice to see these top guys who are going to do well in the mountains getting quite close to each other over this sort of distance. Well, we did have a climb to begin with quite early on, so it's only a bit of a slope, but just show they can get over that. They can still maintain their form when it comes in. Now, this is the question mark in this race. Valverde, who won it last year, who's had he has an erratic, when he goes to the longer races, the big tours and so on, he usually has one bad day.
And it does for him.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not, let's see how he's going to go this year. Yeah. He has to prove something now. Just stay with it all the way through. Let's see what he's riding right. He's rocking a bit. He's not the most smooth looking bike rider, getting back onto the drops. And
but you know what, David, the man who looks most in pain quite often is Cadel Evans. The way he hangs his head, that sort of sideways way he does, always looks like he's suffering. But tongues out for Valverde. This is the man I'm actually worried about. I've got to say, Bert Grapsch does not look happy at all, and doesn't look like he's powering away. But you don't know what sort of gears he's running. Some riders love to spin it, you know.
Big gears, this man.
Yeah,
got to hit it. When he said his bottom's hanging out, you mean his back wheel, because he's a big guy. Look at this. This is a sprinter. Look at the shape of him now. He can really ride the time trials, and the size of him. He can go around a time trial. Time trials are normally, the ones he does, are flattish, and if there is a short climb, they just power up them. This is a typical time trialist who rides round the rest of the stage races and comes to time. I think about it, he's carrying a bit too much weight at the moment.
Certainly looked that way. He looked like he was part of a breeding program in Hereford. But anyway, there we go. He is a bull of a man. I expect he'll do better when it comes to the longer time trials.
Well, yes, make a note in your diaries. That's stage 4 on June the 10th. We'll back you on that particular occasion. And do bear in mind, look at your where you can read out the times below, because we're live in the afternoons, but also it's recorded and shown that evening, sometimes next morning. Join us on those occasions.
Most definitely. So Valverde just behind this man, Ivan Basso, at the moment, who's well, Basso 5th in the Giro maybe, but a couple of years out, maybe just taking its toll. When you've got events, big events back to back like this, you get found out, and he's down in the 30s. It's going to be the 40s when he finishes here.
Yeah, that's okay. I think he'll ride himself round after the Tour de France. Sorry, Tour of Italy. He can come back later on in the big climbs. We shall see.
Minute down for now. You know what, David? You're going to have some big names to be protected out there, and there's very few bigger than Cadel Evans. There's usually just one bigger, unfortunately for Cadel. I'm wondering whether this year's Tour de France, you know, they've said second so often, it's not going to happen to him. It's going to be a bit of a pulley door situation. I reckon that Cadel Evans may well just find something this year, and part of me really, really hopes he does. I would love him to win it. It would actually make me weep a little bit.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is, as we got 1K to go for Bert Grabs, is a big thing about Cadel. He hasn't had a team built round about him.
No, he's always had to do it himself.
And with all due respect to Silence Lotto, I just don't feel that he's got the team at the moment round about him. And my good friends from Silence Lotto probably get a sharp cuff around the neck. But reality, again, he's had to do so much on his own. Will he get it all together this year on the Tour de France? You'll be there, sat down in the dungeons in Paris, won't you, doing the chat?
I will, yes.
David Harmon and Sean Kelly be out there trooping around the rest of the country. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be back sat in the studio in London, but we shall see as time goes by.
Here we are then, Katusha and Bocharov coming across the line in the hundreds. My goodness, such a late starting time for the team principal there. But as you said, David, they've kept all the number ones until the very end. And here comes Bertie Grapsch. And he's starting to power it now, but is it all just a little bit too late? Let's get a check on him. And there it is, down in the Diamond Dozen right now, and he still hasn't finished. And they could do with getting that light turned off on the motorcycle. It's flaring us a little bit, fella. Here we go then. And Bert Grapsch, well, maybe he's got it all to do. 54.58 seconds down, and for the world's time trial champion, that is something of a surprise.
Whoa, look at this!
My life. Now that's purposeful. That's Stein de Volder who's just been eaten up here with a kilometre to go. And is that Valverde who's just
It is. He's caught him. And Daniel Monjas in the background, winding it up. He's there on the Tour de France. He does the commentary out there on Sunday. If any of you people go to the Tour de France, whichever part of Europe you're in there, you listen to Daniel Monjas. He is a fountain of knowledge. He will, I think, wind this thing up right now, because it looks to me as if Valverde might topple Cadel Evans. But look at actually de Volder's trying to come back at him, but he's a 1 minute down, so it's all over bar the shouting. Is Valverde going to get it?
Well, de Volder, no slouch either. Won the Tour of Flanders, don't forget, and Valverde has absolutely muscled him here. Coming into the run for home here, Valverde, has he got the better of Cadel Evans? We know he's got the better of Stein de Volder, as you've seen, and it's time to do the business right now. Here is the start-finish straight for you, and the clock is awaiting to fall upon him. Right, check this out. Second place only now. It is Cadel Evans' day. Where will Valverde finish? Third place now, so he's already been beaten by Contador as well, don't forget. But all the big names are up there, and that's good to see. Save for poor old Bertie Grapsch, of course. Cadel Evans then is going to finish top dog on the day. Valverde will be third, that's for sure. And there it is, but a 22.51 second deficit on the Australian. And a little round of applause for Cadel Evans. Legs 11, he's walked it.
Brilliant, by the way. And I think Valverde, by the way, wasn't hanging about. You look at the way he came down that finishing straight. He has his tongue hanging out more often than not. He gave it some stick as best he could do. He wasn't sort of sitting there composed on his bike a bit like Cadel was. He absolutely had a go at this one, and in the end it didn't quite work out, did it? That was no doubt about it. There's a battle going on, by the way, for the next few days. This is going to be a cracking race, isn't it?
It's going to be absolutely superb. Don't forget, tomorrow it's Nancy to Dijon, 228 kilometres in all, and Cadel Evans is the man who will be defending the leader's jersey, and I'm proud of him. Well done. He's come back from what has been a difficult time. He's building up to the Tour de France. Maybe he's found his form at the right time. Let's hope so. Evans then ahead of Contador. He's got an 8-second cushion starting tomorrow. That's something to be defended. Valverde, 23 seconds back. Rossler, 33 adrift. And then come a whole raft of other riders, sub 40 seconds, including David Miller. So thank you very much to Dave for producing a fab result for us. Gives us something else to cheer on what is bound to be a fabulous, fabulous event. 8 stages, don't forget, live during the day, repeats in the evening, and Cadel Evans is going to start day 2, top dog, after taking the opening time trial over 12.1 kilometres. David, it's going to be special, especially when we get to the lumpy stuff. It's been entertaining today.
Yes, certainly. I'm interested, by the way, the gap, though. Evans got only 8 seconds from Contador, as useful climber. Valverde back there, way back in third spot, nearly half minute back. So I think Contador and Evans are going to have the little bit of a comeuppance when we get to big climbs out there, settle their own differences. So it's going to be fascinating. Of course, tomorrow's going to be much more the sprinters on air. We'll see who's going to win that stage. And, well, what a great day we've had to start this race. I've enjoyed it. Hope you have. Have you, Carlton?
I certainly have. Join us tomorrow. We'll see you then.